I had an email from one of our students, and they had a very good question about the symbol ChoKuRae. Okay, so remember ChoKuRae is the power symbol. All right? And their question was, and you may have even seen different literature, maybe even heard people speak about this. The question is, does it make a difference which way you apply it? And I'll try and describe that here. So we know the ChoKuRae, and I'm just going to draw it for you. And so typically the way I draw it or visualize it is, of course, we come across the top and then down. So if I was looking at it, it would look like a 7. So I go from left to right, yes, left to right, and then down, and then the curlicues at the bottom, right? So it looks like a 7 if I was looking at it, right? Sometimes you may see it flipped the other way. So that starts here, goes across and down, and then the curlicues this way, as opposed to starting here and going across and down, and the curlicues this way. And so the question they had was, does it make a difference? And I can't recall exactly what they had heard. Yeah, I can't remember the details. But I have read and heard a few different practitioners talk about how they will use it one way for one reason and one way for the other. And I know the most common one that I've heard is one way sort of puts energy in and the other actually releases it, right? If there's, I guess, a buildup of energy or something like that, right? And so that's one example I can think of. For me, my suggestion and my answer to Carly, who happens to be the student that mentioned it, and to those of you that are listening, is try it. I know for me, I tried the symbol both ways, and I found for me I didn't notice a really big difference. Now, you see, the way I've explained it to you guys is ChoKuRae is like a power boost. So whatever you are doing, it boosts its effectiveness. So I know what I will do is, and just to back up one more step, remember I've taught you guys that, at least from my perspective, I really don't get hung up on, get too concerned whether it's a negative or positive energy or too much or too little energy, that type of thing, because our goal is the same regardless, right? Our goal is to bring about balance. And so that's always my intention. When I'm working with a person, I'm feeling for differences, right? We talked about that in level 1, level 2, right? When you scan your client, you were feeling for differences. When you felt a difference, that was kind of a little check in your mind that you were going to spend a little bit of time there, right? You see, and your client's body knows what to do. So for me, I don't get too hung up on whether it's less or more. I just work on that area, and the person will bring about balance, whatever that looks like. So if I'm working, let's say, on some, let's say it's inflammation, just for fun, and I'm working on some inflammation in the sinuses, I suppose what I could do, if I subscribe to the philosophy of, the one direction is sort of charging up and the other direction would be actually discharging, I guess what I could do is maybe whatever, I'd use the symbol one direction, which would discharge any inflammation or that type of thing, right? Kind of fitting in with my whole freestyle Reiki philosophy. I don't get too hung up on it, but what I would do is when I'm working on this person, working on the congestion, my intention would be to release the congestion, and the ChoKuRae would boost that intention. So I guess what I do is, rather than choosing or deciding that if the symbol is this way it means one thing, and then if I flip it over it means another thing, for me, I guess the way I kind of choose how that will be applied is here, and choosing that. So if I was working on a knee, let's say they tore some cartilage on their knee, so when I'm working on the knee, my intention, my vision would be that that cartilage was being renewed and restored. So then I would ChoKuRae boost it. It boosts my intention, which is the restoration of that cartilage, right? So up here, I was removing, if you will, inflammation, congestion. On the knee, I was putting in or stimulating or charging it as a recuperative to increase and to accelerate the healing process. So I hope that answers your question. As I said, to kind of finish the way I began, try it and see what happens. Remember that the symbols are tools, right? There's nothing magical about them. They're a tool. They tend to have a common or traditional use or purpose, but that doesn't mean you can't use them in a little different way that works just for you. And what works for you may not work as effectively for me. Remember, Reiki is a creative outpouring of this amazingly gentle yet incredibly powerful energy. And you have this wonderful opportunity to flavor it and to flow with it and to add your other healing modalities into it and through it, right? So experiment. You can't hurt anybody with it, and see what you find out. If you find out any interesting uses, or if you already have some interesting uses for it, I would love to hear about them. Send me an email. Also, if you have any questions or any ideas for videos that you feel would be valuable to you as a student, please let me know. We're always looking for new content, and we kind of have our own list, but our list might be different than yours. So I encourage you to let us know if there's anything you would like to know about. All right.